Finding Light in Darkness, Episode 17. Being there when your child needs you and you're still healing.
Before we jump in, just a quick reminder, this podcast isn't professional advice. We're not doctors or therapists. We're just two mates having raw, honest conversations about mental health, trauma, and life. What we say here is based on our own lived experiences, the good, the bad, and the very, very messy.
Yeah, and what works for us might not work for you. And that's okay. Take what you need, leave what you don't. And if you're struggling, please reach out to a mental health professional. You don't have to face this alone.
Also, content warning. This episode touches on heavy themes like childhood trauma, anxiety, estranged family, addiction recovery, and suicidal ideation. There'll also be some humor, some strong language, and the occasional emotional gut punch. If today's not the day for that, hit pause. We'll be here when you're ready.
And if Bob, our anxiety in human form, starts getting too loud in your head while you're listening, remember, you've got the power to hit stop, take a breath, go outside, or come back later. No pressure here, just presence.
All right, let's get into it. Episode 17, The Long Road Back. The quiet winds, the loud voices, and the truth that being a dad and a human, while healing, is one of the bravest things we can do.
Plus, Bob makes a comeback. He's back with more opinions than a bloke in a Bunnings car park. So, buckle up.
Here we go. This is Finding Light in Darkness, and this is the episode I never thought I'd be strong enough to make. It was just a message, one little message, a few lines of text on a screen that stopped me in my tracks and rewired my whole emotional circuitry. You ever have a moment like that? 1 second you're spiraling into the kind of dark that feels bottomless. Not suicidal in the textbook sense, but deeply spiritually exhausted, the kind of tired where existing feels like dragging wet cement through your chest, and then a vibration, a notification, a name you didn't expect to see. It was her, my daughter, the one I hadn't seen properly since 1996, hadn't held in so long my hands forgot the shape of her. It had been years since I heard her voice, and in the moments where I did, even then, I wasn't whole. I was fractured, on the edge of relapse, running from myself in ways that left emotional debris all over the people I loved. I wasn't just missing them, I was gone. And in that state, you start to believe maybe you're better off staying gone. You tell yourself they don't need your chaos, that your silence is a gift, not a punishment. You become a ghost with good intentions. But then came the message, and let me tell you, when your daughter sends you a message during a spiral where you're ready to give up, everything stops. Your shame, your noise, your thoughts, it all halts. Time folds in on itself. The world quiets. And all you hear is the echo of her voice in your mind saying, I'm here. She didn't say those words exactly, but that's what it felt like. A digital whisper across decades. And I cried, not movie scene crying, not noble, quiet, manly tears. I mean sobbing, head in hands, chest heaving, tears soaking my palms like they had a purpose. It was the kind of crying that reaches all the way back to when you were a boy and someone should have picked you up, but didn't. Because this wasn't just her message to me, it was life's message. It was the universe, or God, or my Nan from beyond, saying, you're not done, she needs you, you're still her dad, start acting like it.
And Bob the botherer?
He panicked.
I can imagine. He's probably pacing like a nervous butler before a royal visit. Sir, are you sure you can emotionally manage this? What if you say the wrong thing? What if you get too close and ruin everything?
Exactly. Bob wanted me to stay in the dark. He thrives in the predictable pain. He likes it when I stay numb, stay isolated, stay safely ashamed. But this message, this moment, shattered the pattern. I suddenly had someone to be brave for, and not just anyone. Her, the little girl I once held, the baby who had my eyes, the one I left behind because I couldn't hold myself together. And I sat there on the floor in silence, thinking, am I allowed to be her dad again? Not because she was stopping me, but because I was. I'd built this narrative and this script in my head that said, you messed up too much, you lost your right. And Bob agreed, oh, 100%, mate, you're disqualified. She's better off with the version of you that doesn't exist. But that message, It didn't say I hate you. I didn't say too late. It was casual, even funny. She said work was good but boring, with 2 laughing emojis. She was working night shift, and I am so proud of my daughter. She let me in a little, and that was enough to break me open.
You know what that is? That's hope. Tiny, humble, beautifully inconvenient hope.
Exactly. It was her way of saying, I see you, maybe not fully yet, but I see enough to send this. And from that moment, something shifted. I got up, I cleaned the kitchen, I answered my phone for the first time in 2 days. I replied, I told her not to overwork herself, and I told her I loved her. She replied with a heart emoji, just that. But after decades of silence, a heart from your daughter feels like a galaxy.
You don't forget those moments. They're tattoos on your soul.
And I'll never forget what I was about to do when she messaged me. I won't go into it here, not yet. But I'll say this, her words saved my life because I didn't see a way out. Not that day, not in that hour, not until her name lit up my phone. So this episode, this isn't about fixing everything with one message. It's about what that message opened. It's about what it means when your child reaches out while you're still healing, while you're still broken, doubting, scared. It's about trying to become the father I couldn't be when she was a baby. By being the man she needs today, 20 years sounds like a long time, until you realise most of it passed in survival mode. Days blurred into weeks, weeks bled into years, and somewhere in there, in all that numb, noisy nothing, I lost the most important connection of my life. I lost her, my daughter. Now, I want to be honest here. This segment, it's not pretty, it's not polished, it's messy, because that's what this part of the story is. The part where you look back and realise how long you were gone and how much it hurt, not just her, but me too.
And that's the part people forget, right? That when you walk away, even if you think you're protecting them, you're tearing a hole in your own chest too.
Exactly. You think you're doing the right thing by disappearing. You convince yourself that your absence is a gift because your presence feels like poison. You're unwell. You're using. You're in and out of jail. You're chasing numbness through anything that dulls the grief, the guilt, the memories. You think you're protecting them from the wreckage. But the wreckage keeps expanding the more you disappear. And what's worse, they grow up. They grow up without you.
You missed first days of school, birthdays, milestones, the little moments that become the big ones.
Yeah, and I'd lie to myself. I'd say, you'll reconnect one day. She'll understand. But the truth, I didn't understand it. I didn't understand how much damage silence could do. I didn't understand what it meant for her to have a father who was a ghost, not dead, not fully alive, just gone. I used to scroll Facebook and see her photos. I'd see her smiling, see her holding my grandsons, and I'd cry. And Bob would have a field day.
Too late now, mate. You missed the boat. Don't bother showing up with your busted compass.
Exactly. And I believed him, because when you've spent decades feeling worthless, you start thinking you deserve the silence. But what I didn't realise was that she never stopped caring. She may have gone quiet, she may have pulled back, but she watched. She saw my name, she noticed my attempts, and somewhere in her heart, she kept a tiny space open. And that message she sent, that was her way of saying, I see you're still here.
She saw the man beneath the wreckage.
And I started to see him too, because the moment she reached out, even just to talk about work, I realised something. I hadn't been erased, I'd just been waiting to be ready, waiting to be well, but maybe healing doesn't come before reconnection, and maybe healing starts with it.
Wow, say that again.
Maybe healing starts with reconnection, because suddenly I had someone to show up for. Not a fantasy version, not a future plan, but her, now today. And you know what the first thing I felt was? Not joy, not hope, shame.
Because you didn't think you deserved it.
Yeah, because how do you look your daughter in the eye, even virtually, and say, I missed your childhood, I wasn't there for your heartbreaks, your dreams, your fears, I wasn't there for you. How do you say that and still try to be a dad?
You say it anyway.
Exactly, because being her dad now, even just by message, even just with heart emojis and awkward jokes, it's still something, and it's everything. It's a start. So I started small. I told her I loved her. I told her she could message me anytime. I told her I wasn't going anywhere, not this time, not again. And when she replied, even just with a heart, I broke. Not because it was emotional, but because it was real. 20 years of silence, shattered by a single heartbeat of love,
That's not just a segment, that's a resurrection.
maybe. Or maybe it's just a father who finally decided that being broken isn't an excuse for being absent. I may not be perfect, I may still be healing, but I'm here, and sometimes just being here is enough. You know that old saying, failing forward? I used to think it was crap. Just another Pinterest quote slapped onto a coffee mug in a therapist's office, the kind of office I'd walk into numb and walk out pretending I was fixed. But now I understand it differently. Now I live it, because that's exactly what I'm doing. Falling forward, not gracefully, not with purpose half the time, but I'm moving. I'm still stumbling, still full of fear and shame and guilt, but I'm not falling away from everything anymore. I'm falling toward something, toward her, my daughter. The day she messaged me, it didn't feel real. I was in a place, mentally, that I don't like talking about. I wasn't doing well. I was deep in my head, deep in the dark, honestly not sure if I could keep going. And then that message landed, simple, quiet, like a whisper through a war zone. She said work was going well, boring but good. And she added those little laughing emojis, the kind of thing people throw into messages without thinking. But for me, they were everything. They told me she wasn't just talking, she was letting me in, even just a little. I stared at that message for ages, just frozen, because I couldn't believe it. This wasn't just any message. This was her, my little girl who grew up without me, my daughter who had every right to hate me, to block me, to pretend I didn't exist. But she didn't. She messaged me, and it hit me like a freight train. How much time I'd lost, how much I'd missed. The birthdays, the scraped knees, the first day of school, the moments when she needed a dad. And I wasn't there, and that's the part that breaks me. Not that I disappeared, but why I disappeared. I thought I was doing the right thing. I convinced myself that walking away was noble, that I was protecting her from the chaos of me, from the addiction, from the prison visits, from the spiral I kept falling into. I thought my absence was a gift, but all it really did was carve a hole into both of us. She lost a father. I lost everything. For years I let Bob, my anxiety, write the story. He told me I was too damaged, too broken. He told me she'd be better off without me. He whispered that I'd only hurt her, and I listened. I believed him. And every time I saw a picture of her online, smiling with my grandsons, I felt like I was choking on guilt. I'd zoom in on the photo and wonder if they even knew I existed. I wondered if she told them anything about me. And Bob would chime in, probably not. Why would she? We're just a ghost. But that message, that tiny, ordinary, unbelievably powerful message, it shattered something in me. And I mean that in the best possible way. It cracked open this frozen part of my chest that had been locked up for years. She didn't say, I love you. She didn't say, I forgive you. But she said something. She opened the door. Even if it was just an inch, she opened it. And that was enough. I didn't know what to say back. I didn't want to come on too strong. I didn't want to scare her away. So I kept it light. I told her not to work too hard, that I loved her. And then she replied with a heart. Just a little red heart, and mate, I lost it. I crumbled. Full on tears, snot, chest heaving, the kind of crying that feels like your soul is getting wrung out like a sponge, because that heart wasn't just a symbol, it was a second chance. And of course Bob wasn't having it. Bob was panicking in the corner like a wet cat in a thunderstorm. What if she sent it by mistake? What if she meant to send it to someone else? What if this is a trap and you're about to mess everything up again? I could feel my heart rate climbing, my hands shaking, and then I stopped. I breathed, and for the first time in a long time, I told Bob to shut up, out loud. I said, not this time, she meant it, and even if she didn't, I'm choosing to believe she did. I'm done letting you ruin this. And I meant it. I sat there and reread her message again and again, like it was a sacred text, because it was. It was the first brick in a bridge I thought had long collapsed. That night I slept, not perfectly, not peacefully, but I slept without shame. I hadn't felt that in years, because this time I was falling toward something, toward being her dad again. And let me say this, being a father while still healing, It's one of the hardest, most terrifying things I've ever tried to do because I don't have all the answers. I still wake up with panic. I still carry grief. I still hear the old lies whispering at the edges. But now I've got something louder than all that. I've got her. I've got the knowledge that someone out there, my daughter, gave me a second chance I didn't even ask for. So now every message I send her, every silly emoji, every check in, every I love you, it's not just about rebuilding, it's about showing up. It's about proving one message at a time that I'm not going anywhere, that this time I'm not falling backward into silence, I'm falling forward, and maybe I'll trip, maybe I'll get it wrong, but I'll keep getting up because now I've got something to fall toward, and that makes all the difference. The day I went to BJ's, I told myself I just needed a break, something light, bit of company, maybe a laugh, but the truth, I wasn't doing all right. I've been carrying too much in silence, the kind of heavy that doesn't shout or break down in public. It just settles into your bones and makes everything feel like you're walking through concrete. And I thought, if I can just hang out with BJ, crack a few jokes, play the clown, maybe I can outrun it for a while. That's what I've done most of my life, outrun the dark with noise. Noise like humour, sarcasm, laughs, and God help me, I'm good at it. I can make people laugh till they cry while I'm quietly falling apart on the inside.
I've seen that mask, mate. I think a lot of our listeners have. You show up with the jokes, the big energy, the stories, and people assume you're fine. But they don't realize that for blokes like us, the louder we get, the more we're probably hurting. It's not performance, it's survival.
Exactly. And the crazy part is, I didn't even realize how deep I was in it until I got home that night. While I was at BJ's, I was on fire. Every story landed, every punchline stuck. I had him laughing so hard, his ribs probably still hurt. And yeah, in the moment, that felt good. It felt like connection, like I was valuable again. But as soon as I walked back into my house and the door closed behind me, I realized it had all been a mask, a beautifully painted, emotionally airtight mask, one I've worn so long, sometimes I forget I'm even wearing it.
That's what we do, though. We get so used to hiding in humor that it becomes second nature. But that mask, it starts to hurt after a while. You feel it digging into your face when you're alone. You feel the weight of the unsaid. And it's exhausting, isn't it?
Exhausting doesn't even cover it. I was sitting on his couch, physically there, emotionally performing, but deep inside, Bob was losing it. That little anxiety gremlin was pacing up and down my brain with a clipboard going, "You're doing it again, faking it, pretending, laughing too loud so no one asks how you really are." And he's right. I was pretending because I didn't want BJ to see the part of me that was terrified, the part that didn't know what to do with my daughter's message, the part that was asking, what if I mess this up too?
And I want to say this to the people listening right now. If you've ever done that, if you've ever cracked a joke in a moment where you were actually breaking, you're not alone. You're not fake. You're just doing what you've had to do to survive. But what Scott's saying here is powerful. It's not about hiding forever. It's about realizing when you're hiding and choosing, even gently, to start pulling that mask down.
Yeah. And that's what hit me after I left BJ's. I got home, sat in the dark, and just breathed. And then I cried. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a slow leak, the kind of tears you don't even feel coming. It was like the laughter had finally worn off and the pain crept in underneath it. And that's when Bob started talking again, telling me I was a coward for not telling BJ the truth, that I wasted another night being the funny one instead of being real. And for a minute, I believed him.
That's Bob's game. He waits. He lets you have your little high, then kicks the legs out from under it when you're alone. He whispers that you should have said more, done more, been more, but never gives you any credit for just showing up. And mate, showing up when you're struggling is massive.
It is. And I didn't see it that way until I wrote it out. That's why writing's so important for me. It's where I don't have to pretend. I don't have to edit myself for an audience or punch things up for a laugh. It's just me and Bob. And sometimes the truth that lives under all the noise. And what I realized was this: I might have worn the mask at BJ's, but I still showed up. I didn't cancel. I didn't isolate. I didn't sit at home and spiral. I went, I connected. And maybe that's not everything, but it's a hell of a start.
Damn right. And for anyone listening, maybe you relate to that. Maybe you've gone out and played the role. Maybe you're still wearing the mask. That's okay. We're not saying rip it off and cry in the supermarket. We're just saying start noticing it. Start asking yourself why you're performing. And when you feel safe enough, let someone in, even a little.
And if you don't feel safe with anyone else yet, write, talk out loud, message us, just get it out of your head. Because Bob thrives in silence. He grows in isolation. But when you name him, when you call out the mask, when you say, I'm not okay, but I showed up anyway, something in you shifts. You start moving from performance to presence.
That's huge. And that's where healing starts. Not in perfection, but in showing up, just as you are. Messy, masked, honest, or not ready yet. Just here.
And maybe next time I visit BJ, I'll let him see a bit more. Maybe I'll say, mate, I'm glad you laughed, but I'm also hurting. And maybe he'll just nod. Maybe he'll say, yeah, I figured. Or maybe he'll just offer me another beer and say nothing. And that's okay too, because the point isn't to dump your pain, it's to stop pretending it doesn't exist.
And you know what, Scott? That mask, it's cracking. That's progress. That's brave.
Yeah, it is. And to everyone listening, if today you put on the mask to get through work or parenting or just making it to the shops, I see you. We see you. And we're walking with you. You know, I never thought being a father would feel like walking through a minefield with Bob giving directions. Every step, he's right there beside me. You sure you want to message her today? What if she's busy? What if she rolls her eyes when she sees your name pop up? And then when I don't message her, he switches gears. See, you're already pulling away. You're repeating history. It's like being stuck in a car with a GPS that only speaks in guilt and doubt.
That's what Bob does best, though. He narrates failure before you even take the first step. And for dads like you, dads who've made mistakes, who've been absent, who carry years of pain, Bob becomes the voice that tells you you'll never be enough, that no matter what you do, you're too late.
Exactly. It's like every time I try to be present for my daughter, there's a whisper in the back of my skull going, don't screw this up. Don't be too intense. Don't be too distant. Don't say the wrong thing. Don't say nothing either. It's a checklist of emotional landmines. And Bob's not just reading it, he wrote it in Sharpie.
You ever feel like Bob's trying to father for you? Like he's stepping in, taking the wheel, convincing you that he knows better?
All the time, and it's exhausting. I'll be about to send a message to check in on her. Something simple like, how was work? Or hope you're sleeping all right. And Bob jumps in with, she'll think it's weird, too clingy, back off, you're being annoying. So I stop. I freeze. And then 5 hours later, Bob goes, nice work. You ignored her. She probably thinks you don't care. It's a no-win situation, and Bob loves it. He feeds on the doubt. He's like an emotional parasite that wants to sabotage every bit of love I try to offer.
And I bet there are people listening right now, mums, dads, carers, even adult kids, who know exactly what you're talking about. That feeling that the moment you try to connect, the voice inside tells you it's too much or not enough.
And here's the thing, that voice used to be mine. I used to believe it was just me. But now that I've named him, now that I call him Bob, I can step back. I can say, no, that's not truth. That's anxiety. And some days that gives me just enough distance to hit send on the message, just enough space to check in, to tell her I love her, to remind her I'm here.
That's huge, mate. That's fatherhood in action. Not big grand gestures, not the perfect words, just showing up again and again, even when it's hard.
And that's what I'm trying to hold on to. That maybe being a good dad now doesn't mean rewriting the past. It means owning it and choosing to show up in the present. Even if Bob's screaming in the background, even if the guilt still weighs heavy, I can still be here. I can still love her. I can still be the man she needs now, not the man I wish I was back then.
And what does that look like, day to day?
Sometimes it's messaging her late at night just to say I'm thinking of her. Sometimes it's not messaging at all, and instead sitting with the discomfort of wanting to fix everything but knowing I can't. Sometimes it's looking at a photo of her and the boys and letting myself feel it, the grief, the joy, the love, the guilt, without numbing it. Sometimes it's reminding myself that I don't have to have a perfect track record to be a present parent.
M. You're breaking the cycle, mate. You're doing it in real time, with all the pain and awkwardness and raw honesty. And I know people listening, they need to hear that. They need to hear that healing and fatherhood can exist at the same time.
Yeah. And for anyone out there listening who feels like they've missed their shot, I want to say this: you haven't. As long as you're breathing, as long as there's still a line of communication, there's still time to show up. It won't look perfect, it won't always be received the way you hope, but it matters. Every message, every effort, every pause where you let love speak louder than shame, it all matters.
And Bob, he's going to keep chirping, but that's all right, because now you know he's not the voice of truth, just the echo of fear. And the antidote to fear is action. Imperfect, brave, consistent action.
So true. And I've learned that the more I talk to her, the more I stay present even when I feel unworthy, the quieter Bob gets. He doesn't disappear, but he gets drowned out by something stronger, something I never thought I'd feel again.
What's that?
Hope. Not the fluffy fake kind, the real kind, the kind that says, maybe I can still be the dad she deserves. Maybe I am becoming him.
You are, mate. You really are.
And to everyone out there, if Bob's in your head right now, telling you you're not enough, let this episode be your reminder that Bob doesn't get to raise your kids. You do. You know what no one tells you about being a dad after years of absence? There's no manual for this, no checklist for reconnection, no guide titled How to Parent When You Still Don't Know How to Parent Yourself. You're just kind of thrown into it. You go from being a ghost to being someone she might be willing to trust again. And suddenly you're sitting there with your phone in your hand, wondering how to be both vulnerable and strong, consistent and careful, honest and not overwhelming. It's a bloody balancing act. And Bob treats it like a circus.
And the crowd is your inner critic, right? Cheering for disaster, waiting for you to fall off the wire.
That's exactly what it feels like. I'm up there trying to walk this tightrope, one foot in the past, one foot in the now, and Bob's below with a megaphone yelling, "Hope you're ready to mess this up, mate." It's brutal because I'm trying to relearn how to be present, how to check in without overstepping, how to say I love you without sounding like I'm trying to buy forgiveness. It's like learning a new language, the language of showing up late but with your whole heart.
And I think there's a lot of people out there who get this. Not just parents who've been gone, but anyone who's had to step into a role they weren't ready for. Whether it's looking after someone, repairing a relationship, or trying to show up for your kids when you're still healing yourself. It's a bloody hard job.
It is. And what's worse is deep down, you want to do it perfectly. Like you think, if I can just nail this, maybe I can make up for everything. But that mindset, that's where Bob slips in with the poison. He turns love into pressure. He turns intention into panic. Suddenly, I'm overanalyzing everything. Did I use too many emojis? Did I not use enough? Was my message too soft, too firm, too soon, too late? It's exhausting. And that's when I catch myself because I'm parenting through fear, not love.
That right there, mate, that's the trap. Trying to earn redemption instead of just being present. Letting anxiety define what should be connection.
Yeah, I've realized that being a dad now, this late in the game, isn't about perfecting the past. It's about practicing presence. It's about making the choice every day to try again, even when it's awkward, even when I don't hear back for a while, even when Bob's telling me she's moved on, you're not needed. This is embarrassing. I still try because trying is what love looks like when you're healing.
And that kind of love, it's gritty, it's clumsy, it's quiet, but it's powerful. And for people listening, especially those who've been out of their kids' lives or made mistakes or are still learning how to show up, what Scott's doing here is the truth. You're not just dad by blood, you're dad by choice, by action. Every day you lean in instead of leaning out, You're building something.
And I want people to hear this. You know, there are days where I don't feel like I'm doing enough, where I feel like I'm faking it, like I'm playing dad instead of being one. But those are the days I try even harder because I know what it's like to feel fatherless, to feel invisible, and I'll be damned if I let her feel that again. Not by my hand.
That's heavy, but it's honest. And maybe that's what kids need more than anything. Not a perfect parent, but an honest one. One who says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here.
That's all I can offer her, my presence, my truth, my effort. I can't undo the years I missed. I can't change the choices I made back then, but I can let her know that now, even as I'm still learning how to father myself, I'm ready to try for her. That every message, every check in, every love you is a brick in a bridge I'll never stop building.
That's fatherhood, mate. Not knowing the answers, but walking beside your child anyway. Even when the road's messy, even when the past is loud, especially then.
And for everyone listening who's trying to be a better parent, trying to heal while raising someone else, I see you, we see you, and you're not alone in this. You're doing more than you think. You're showing up, and that means everything. There's something weird about trying to become the dad you never had to be until now. Most people grow into fatherhood. It's nappies, bottle feeds, first steps, scraped knees, school pickups, all that. But for me, I blinked and she was grown, a mother herself. And now I'm trying to start where most dads have already built a lifetime of trust, of memories, of moments. It's like walking into a movie halfway through and trying to catch up, except the movie is someone's life and the stakes are love, regret, and second chances.
And you don't get a rewind button. You're handed the script mid-scene and told, make it real. That's pressure. That's fear. And I reckon that's why Bob's been getting louder again, yeah?
Oh, he's having a field day. Every time I go to send a message, Bob's in my ear with, what if she doesn't want this? What if she's just being polite? What if you're pushing too hard? He treats every interaction like it's a potential collapse. And honestly, sometimes I listen, sometimes I freeze, not because I don't care, but because I care too much. Because the idea of losing her again, now that I've had even a glimpse of connection, terrifies me more than anything else.
That's the thing about reconnecting with someone you love. It brings up everything: hope, guilt, excitement, panic. And Bob's job is to scan every little moment and scream about worst-case scenarios. What if she stops replying? What if you say the wrong thing? But here's the truth, mate. Silence is safer for Bob, not for you.
That hit me because silence is where I used to live. I got comfortable with it. It was easier than risking rejection. But now, every time I choose to speak, even if it's awkward or small, I feel like I'm taking back my place in her life. I'm saying, I'm still here, I'm still trying. And that counts, even if Bob hates it.
And for people listening, I want to say this. If you're trying to rebuild something with someone you love, don't wait for perfect words. Don't wait for the manual. It doesn't exist. Connection happens in the mess, in the mumbling, in the, hey, just thinking of you, that feels too small to matter, but actually means everything.
It does. And you know what else I've learned? Sometimes being her dad now means just being available, like when she messaged me about work being boring, or when she sent a heart emoji back after I told her to take care. Those moments are tiny, but they hold so much weight. They say, I'm letting you in. And every time I respond, every time I choose love over silence, I'm reinforcing that bridge we're slowly building.
And Bob doesn't like bridges, does he? He likes walls, silence, separation. He thrives in that lonely space between I should say something and I better not. But here's the good news. You've got a sledgehammer now. It's called courage.
Yeah, and some days it's a bloody heavy sledgehammer, but I swing it anyway. Because the more I let myself be seen, by her, by my grandkids, by myself, the less power Bob has, the quieter that voice becomes, and the louder my real voice gets. The one that says, I love you, I'm proud of you, I'm sorry I wasn't there, but I am now.
And what does it mean for you, Scott, to say, I am now? Like, today? What does that look like?
It looks like keeping my phone close at night, just in case she needs to talk. It looks like not disappearing when I feel overwhelmed. It looks like messaging her even when I don't get a reply right away. It looks like sitting with the discomfort of not knowing how she feels, but choosing to show up anyway. And it looks like letting her know in every little way I can that I'm here. Not perfect, not polished, but present.
That's what being a dad really is. And not just for her, but for you too. You're learning how to be a father while still learning how to be Scott.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't always feel worthy of it. There are moments I sit in this house, look at a photo of her, or think about those lost years, and Bob will just hit me with, "She deserved better. You blew it. This is all too late." And it hurts. But I remind myself, and I want everyone listening to hear this, you don't have to be finished to be present. You don't have to be fully healed to be available. You just have to care enough to try.
That's it, mate. That's the heart of it. And I know people out there are carrying this exact pain, trying to reconnect with their kids, their parents, their past selves. So, if you're listening and you've been too afraid to reach out, maybe this is your sign. Maybe this is your moment to say, I'm still learning, but I want to try.
Because if I can do it, messy, broken, with Bob whispering doom in one ear, then so can you. It won't be perfect, but it will be real. And real is what heals. You know, I never pictured myself as a grandfather. I didn't think I'd even get the chance. When you spend years running, years numbing, years believing you're too broken to matter, you don't plan for legacy. You plan for escape. You build walls, not futures. And suddenly, here I am, sitting with the knowledge that I've got grandsons, my grandsons, out there in the world, and they don't really know me. Not yet.
That's a heavy thing to carry, mate. Most people step into grandparenthood with baby photos and birthday parties and pram walks at the park. You stepped into it with silence, distance, and a whole lot of wondering.
Yeah, and Bob's had a lot to say about it. Every time I look at a photo or hear my daughter mention one of their names, he leans in with that smug tone. Too little, too late. You weren't there when they were born. You don't know their favourite snacks. You don't know their laugh. He tries to shrink me down to this invisible figure, a man they'll never know, or worse, never want to know. And some days that gets in.
But you're not invisible. You're here, talking, writing, loving, wanting to connect. That's not invisible. That's foundational. You're showing up, even if it's late, and that counts.
It does. And I have to remind myself of that every single day, that love doesn't expire, that even if I missed the early chapters, I can still be part of the story, even from a distance. Even if I've only got words and phone calls and the quiet courage to say, I'm here if you need me.
And they will need you. Maybe not today, maybe not next week, but kids grow up. They ask questions, they feel things. And one day, one of those boys might come to you, not because you were perfect, but because you were honest.
And that's what I hope for. I don't want to be a grandfather who pretends he was always there. I want to be the kind who says, I missed a lot, but I'm here now and I want to know you. I want to show them that strength isn't about pretending. It's about showing up with all the mess, all the stories, all the heartache, and still choosing to stay.
You're changing the story, mate. Not just yours, but theirs. You're breaking the cycle of silence. And even if they don't fully understand it yet, one day they'll look back and realize how big that was.
I hope so. Because even though I can't tuck them in at night or take them fishing or sit front row at their school assembly, I can still offer something real. I can be the voice that tells them they matter, that they come from someone who's done the work, who still is doing the work, and that even when the past is heavy, love is still possible.
And for anyone listening right now, especially those who feel disconnected from their kids or their grandkids or even their own parents, I want to say this. Love doesn't need a perfect entry point. It just needs intention. It needs truth. It needs one person brave enough to say, I'm here and I'm not walking away.
That's it. I might never be the granddad who tells bedtime stories in person or picks them up from school, but maybe I can be the granddad who listens, who replies when they're struggling, who tells them they're loved without condition, without question, because that's what I needed when I was their age. Someone to see me, someone to believe I was worth something. And if I can be that voice for them, even in small ways, then I'm already the grandfather I never thought I could be.
You're not just becoming that, mate. You are that. And Bob can have his commentary, but he doesn't get to define your legacy. You do, with every message, every choice, every honest word.
And to my grandsons, even if you hear this one day, years from now, I want you to know I love you. I'm proud of you. And even if I didn't know how to show it before, I'm learning now. I'm learning how to be a better man, a better father, and yeah, a better pop, because it's never too late to love. It's only too late if you stop trying. You ever notice how the quietest moments can sometimes be the loudest? Like when the house is still, when your phone isn't buzzing, when the sky's gone dark and the day has wrapped itself up. That's when the voices get loud. That's when Bob starts pacing again. And it's not always shouting. Sometimes it's worse. It's this subtle hum, a whisper that says, "You're still not enough," over and over. And that's where healing gets tricky, because people think healing is peace, but sometimes healing hurts before it helps.
That's the part no one puts on Instagram, isn't it? The part where you're doing all the right things, staying sober, reaching out, being present, and it still aches. It still knocks the wind out of you. And you think, why does getting better feel worse sometimes?
Exactly. I've had nights where I've done everything right, replied to messages, cooked myself dinner, sat with a tea instead of a beer, and then suddenly, without warning, I'm on the edge of my bed, gripping the sides like I'm about to fall off the earth. Not because anything's wrong, but because my body's still catching up with the idea that I deserve this, that I'm allowed to feel okay. And Bob, he doesn't like okay. He prefers chaos. So he stirs the pot.
He's that mate who shows up uninvited just as you're tidying the house. Oh, look at you trying to get better. That's cute. Let's talk about everything you've ever done wrong instead.
And you know what makes it worse? Those nights feel personal. They feel like proof that I'll never outrun it. But I've had to shift my thinking, because maybe healing isn't this linear climb. Maybe it's like the tide. It comes in, it goes out. Sometimes it soaks you. Sometimes it retreats and leaves you with silence. But it always moves. And movement, that's the sign you're alive.
That's beautifully said. And I think that's what people need to hear, that if they're feeling overwhelmed even in the healing, especially in the healing, it doesn't mean they're broken. It means they're brave. It means they're facing things most people run from.
Yeah. And sometimes I talk back to Bob on those nights. I sit there in the dark and I say out loud, "I know why you're here. You're scared. You think if I get too happy, I'll forget how to protect myself. But guess what? I don't need you to protect me anymore. I've got this." And I breathe. I let the silence stretch. And even if it still hurts, I don't run.
That's power. That's presence. And for anyone out there listening right now, if tonight is one of those nights for you, if you're sitting in a quiet room feeling everything all at once, we're with you. You're not alone in that silence. You're not weak for feeling it. You're not failing because it hurts.
That's the truth. Healing hurts because it's rewiring you. It's asking your brain, your heart, your body to believe a new story, one where you are worthy, one where you can be loved. And that story, it takes time to believe. And sometimes the old story tries to fight its way back. That's just part of it.
And you don't have to win every night. You don't have to silence Bob completely. You just have to stay. You just have to breathe. You just have to remind yourself, this is hard, but I'm healing, and that's enough for tonight.
Yeah, that's it. So, to anyone listening who's in that silent room with the loud thoughts, with the ache in your chest and the tears just behind your eyes, you're not alone. We see you. We've been you. And guess what? You're doing better than you think, even on the hard nights, especially on the hard nights. All right, let's talk about it. Bob's back. Not that he ever really left. He just took a nap, waiting for the perfect time to kick the door in again like he owns the place. And let me tell you, this week, he's been loud. He's been pacing the hallways of my mind like a landlord inspecting damage, pointing out every crack and saying, "See? Still broken."
He's the kind of tenant you can't evict. You change the locks, and he shows up through the pipes. And this time, I bet he had something to say about all the progress you've made lately, didn't he?
Oh, he had plenty to say. "So, you think one heart emoji means you're a good dad now? You sent 2 messages this week. Wow, father of the year. Don't get too comfortable. This won't last. She'll stop replying. You'll mess it up. He says it with this tone too, not yelling, just smug, like he knows something I don't.
Classic Bob, whispering like he's got the inside scoop on your downfall, and the worst part, you start to believe him, even if only for a second.
And that's the battle. Because Bob doesn't just throw insults, he throws memories. He brings up the missed birthdays, the years I was gone, the times I let people down. And he doesn't just say, you hurt people. He says, you are hurt. You are failure. It's not commentary, it's identity theft.
And that's what anxiety does. It blurs the line between guilt and identity, between I did something wrong and I am something wrong. And that's where the real fight begins.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, there are moments I still fall for it. I'll sit on the couch with my phone in my hand, thinking about messaging my daughter again, just to check in, just to say, love you. And Bob will appear like a ghost behind me. Don't be needy. She doesn't need this. She probably thinks you're annoying. And I'll freeze. The words disappear. And then a few hours later, Bob shifts again. Nice job. Another missed opportunity. You're repeating the pattern. It's emotional whiplash.
That's the thing. Bob isn't consistent. He just wants control. He'll shame you for reaching out and for staying silent. Because the real goal isn't safety, it's sabotage.
And that's when I decided enough. I gave Bob a seat at the table. Literally, I was sitting at my kitchen bench the other night and I looked at the empty chair across from me and said, all right, mate, say your piece. And I let it pour out. Every doubt, every fear, every voice that told me I'm not enough. I gave him 10 minutes and then I said, cool, now I'm speaking.
That's brilliant. You let him talk, but you didn't let him lead. That's the difference.
Yeah, and here's what I told him. I said, you don't get to run this anymore. You don't get to hold the remote. You've had decades of airtime, and all you've done is keep me afraid, keep me quiet, keep me away from the people I love. So you can sit there, you can mutter, but I'm pressing send. I'm making the call. I'm walking out the door because I'm done letting fear feel like wisdom.
That right there is powerful. Because Bob always disguises himself as caution. I'm just protecting you. I'm just helping you avoid embarrassment. But really, he's just a scared little voice that wants to stay in the dark.
And the only way to weaken him is to name him, to laugh at him, to talk about him with people you trust. That's why I started this podcast. That's why I bring him up. Because when we keep Bob hidden, he grows. But when we drag him into the light, he stumbles, he sputters, he panics. And suddenly you realize he's not a monster. He's just a voice, one you don't have to listen to anymore.
So, to everyone listening, what does your Bob sound like? What does he say when you try to connect, when you try to take a risk, when you dare to heal? And more importantly, what do you say back?
Maybe today you look at your anxiety, your Bob, your Ned, your Sheila the stress witch, and you say, thanks for your input, but I've got this. Maybe you write the message anyway. Maybe you go to the store even though you're scared. Maybe you let yourself laugh even if you cried all day. That's the real showdown. Not fighting Bob, but choosing yourself in the middle of the noise.
Because you're not broken, you're not weak, you're not too late. You're just someone learning how to live with a loud voice in your head and still walk forward anyway.
And if Bob's in your ear tonight, whispering the old script, just picture him in Crocs, tripping over a yoga mat, clutching a clipboard of irrelevant shame, and then do the thing anyway, because this is your life, not his, not anymore. Scott, you know what's funny? Change doesn't always show up with a bang. Sometimes it sneaks in like a whisper, quiet, subtle, almost missable, and it's only when you look back that you realize, damn, I handled that differently. I didn't run this time. I stayed. That's how I know I'm changing, not because I've become someone new, but because I'm finally becoming me again, the me underneath all the noise, underneath Bob, underneath the shame.
That's real, mate, because we're taught to look for big turning points, dramatic decisions, loud declarations, big shifts. But real healing, it's sneaky. It shows up in the moments when no one's watching, when you do the thing that used to break you, and you survive it.
Yeah, like the other day, I was at the shops, and for the first time in what felt like months, I didn't second guess my every move. I didn't worry about how my breathing sounded or whether the checkout person thought I looked anxious. I just did the shop. I bought the damn milk and left. And on the way to the car, I felt this tiny spark. Not pride exactly, more like presence, like I was here, I didn't hide.
That's a win. That's a huge win. And I reckon most people listening right now have had moments like that. Small on the outside, but massive on the inside, where you catch yourself not panicking, or not spiraling, or just being okay.
And then there's the other stuff, the emotional stuff, like replying to my daughter without a script, not overthinking every word, just being myself, or letting her send a voice message and actually listening without freezing, without dissecting her tone, wondering if she was upset, just hearing her and feeling okay.
That's what I love about what you're building, mate. You're not just trying to reconnect. You're learning how to be in the connection, how to exist without apology. That's what progress really looks like.
And look, some days are still hard. There are mornings I wake up and feel like I've gone back 5 years, days where Bob's screaming and I feel like I'm failing, but then something will happen, something tiny, and I'll see the truth, like sending that message anyway, or eating dinner without TV just to sit with myself, or walking outside barefoot and letting myself feel the earth instead of the walls. That's how I know I'm still moving forward, not in leaps, but in steps.
And for anyone listening who's wondering if they're making progress, I want to say this. You are. If you got out of bed today, that's a win. If you didn't, but you're listening to this, that's a win. If you made a call, sent a message, made eye contact, breathed through a moment instead of running from it, those are your victories, and they matter.
They really do, because we've all been taught to measure our worth by what we produce or what we achieve. But healing doesn't live in productivity, it lives in presence. It lives in those moments where you say, I'm still here, I'm still trying, I didn't give up. That's the real triumph.
So, what's one tiny moment from this past week that made you pause, even just for a second, and think, maybe I'm healing?
Honestly, it was laughing, proper laughing, not polite, not performance, just me sitting in my lounge, watching something ridiculous on TV and really laughing, and then realizing, wow, I didn't have to fight for this laugh. It just came. That's when I knew something in me has shifted.
And that, right there, that's the light. That's what this podcast is all about. Not waiting for a miracle, just recognizing the moments when the darkness lifts, even for a second, and letting that remind you you're still moving.
And to everyone listening, maybe your tiny triumph was showing up to work or making it through dinner without zoning out. Maybe you said something kind to yourself for the first time in weeks. Whatever it is, celebrate it, because healing isn't loud, but it is real and it's happening. So here we are, the end of this episode, but not the end of the road, not even close. If anything, this is just another turn in a journey I'm still learning how to walk, a road full of detours and potholes and memories I wish I could change it, but also full of things I never thought I'd feel again: love, connection, pride, hope, and the quiet realization that I am somehow still here.
And that's no small thing, mate. It's not just surviving, it's choosing to keep going, to stay in the conversation, to show up in your daughter's life, even if your voice shakes, to imagine being a grandfather, even if you miss the beginning. That's not weakness, that's courage.
You know, there were times I didn't think I'd see another tomorrow, times when the shame was louder than love, when Bob's voice was so thick in my chest that breathing hurt, when the thought of showing up for someone else felt impossible because I didn't even know how to show up for myself. But then came the message, a few words from my daughter, simple, casual, unexpected, and it cracked open something I thought was dead inside me.
That message changed everything, not because it erased the past, but because it reminded you that you still have a place in her present.
Sco, and that's all I've ever wanted, a chance to be present, to be more than my past, to be more than the years I lost. I can't undo what happened. I can't rewrite the story, but I can add to it. I can send the message. I can take the call. I can tell her I love her and mean it with every piece of my battered, healing heart.
And that's what makes this podcast so powerful, mate. You're not preaching from a mountaintop. You're sitting in the dirt, holding out your hand, saying, come sit with me. It's okay to be a mess. It's okay to hurt, but it's not too late.
And for anyone listening right now who's sitting in that same place, who feels like they've blown it or that they're too far gone, I want to say this: you're not. You're here. That means something. That means everything. If all you did today was breathe or cry or make it through another hour, you're still in this. You're still fighting. And I am so proud of you.
And if no one said it to you today, we see you, we hear you, and we're walking this road with you, right alongside you. No judgment, no fixing, just real talk, real pain, and real hope.
Yeah. And I want to leave you with this. Healing isn't a finish line. It's a practice. It's sitting with your pain and choosing not to run. It's messaging your daughter, even when Bob's screaming in your head. It's letting yourself laugh when you thought you'd forgotten how. It's forgiving yourself piece by piece. It's learning how to say, I'm still here, and letting that be enough.
Because it is enough. And if you're breathing, you've still got time to write the next chapter.
And that chapter, it won't be perfect, but it can be honest. It can be brave. And if you're anything like me, it'll be written with tears, laughter, a few sarcastic comments from Bob, and the quiet echo of someone you love finally messaging you back. That's the light right there. That's what we're finding.
So, until next time, keep showing up, keep reaching out, and keep reminding yourself, you're not your past, you're not your mistakes, you're not your trauma, you're you, and you're still here.
And that's enough. Before we go, we want to make sure you've got support if you need it, because while this podcast is about connection and storytelling, healing sometimes means reaching out for more.
So, if you're in Australia and need to talk to someone, anytime, day or night, here are some life-saving support lines.
Lifeline 131114, suicide callback service 1300659467, Beyond Blue 1302246636, Men's Line Australia 1300789978. And for our First Nations brothers and sisters, 13YARN, that's 139276.
Write those down, save them in your phone, share them with someone who might need them. You never know when they'll be the thing that keeps someone going.
And I also want to tell you about something that helped me personally, a platform called This Way Up. It's an online mental health program designed by St. Vincent's Hospital and the University of New South Wales. It's not just some app or random self-help site. It's legit. It's evidence-based, built by clinical professionals, and it changed the game for me when I was really struggling.
And the best part? You can do it privately, at your own pace, in your own space.
Exactly. I found it during a really dark stretch, the kind of stretch where Bob was loud, sleep was rare, and getting through the day felt impossible. I didn't want pills. I didn't want to sit in another cold waiting room. I just needed a way forward that felt human. And This Way Up gave me that. Gentle language, small steps, courses on anxiety, depression, PTSD, even mindfulness, all guided in a way that doesn't make you feel broken. It just helps you understand yourself a bit more.
So if that sounds like something you or someone you care about could use, head to thiswayup.org.au. That's thiswayup.org.au.
You are not alone in this, I promise you.
And to everyone who's walked with us through this episode, whether you listened all in one go or paused and came back when it got heavy, thank you. Your courage is what keeps this going.
If no one's told you today, I'm proud of you for being here, for feeling it, for not giving up. And if you've got a Bob in your head, just know he's loud, but he doesn't speak the truth. You do.
Michael. And if you want to reach out, share your story, or just say, hey, you can always email Scott at chatwithscott. findthelight@gmail.com.
We read every message, and I mean that. This community is growing, and it's built on honesty, healing, humor, and showing up, even on the messy days.
So until next time, stay safe, stay soft, stay breathing.
And remember, Bob doesn't get the final word. You do.
This love has never been stronger. I'm up in the clouds when you're around, but when you're not, it's getting much harder, and I'm falling down, down. face on all of the pages in the scrapbook of my mind. To put it down for a while takes ages. Then I'm falling down, down.